I need to say this before you get comfortable, before you lean back and decide this is just another voice filling the silence of your night. I have already lived this life once. And when I was given the chance to live it again, I still chose wrong. That is the part no one prepares you for. Not the miracle of going back, not the fantasy of fixing everything, but the quiet horror of realizing that knowing the future does not automatically make you wiser. Sometimes it only makes you more afraid. The moment it happened was unremarkable. No lightning. No tunnel of light. No dramatic last breath. I was sitting alone in a small apartment that smelled faintly of old coffee and dust, listening to the hum of the refrigerator like it was the last living thing willing to keep me company. I was 49 years old. Divorced. Estranged from my son. Successful enough that people assumed I was fine. Empty enough that I stopped correcting them. I remember staring at my hands and thinking they looked older than I felt, veins raised, skin thinner, as if time had been impatient with me. I had built a life that worked on paper. Career. Stability. No scandals. No disasters. And yet, every night, when the noise faded, I felt the same question sitting beside me like an unpaid debt. Was this really all I was going to be? I had made choices. Not dramatic ones. Not the kind people warn you about. Just small, sensible decisions stacked one on top of another, like bricks laid carefully into a wall that eventually boxed me in. I chose security over passion. Silence over confrontation. Later over now. I told myself I was being mature. That night, I didn't wish for a second chance. I wasn't that hopeful. I just remember thinking, with a tired, almost bored sincerity, if I could do it again, I'd be braver. That thought followed me into sleep. And then I woke up. I was 23. The ceiling above me was unfamiliar in the way only forgotten things can be. The light was sharper. The air felt younger. My heart was racing before my mind caught up, because something inside me already knew this wasn't a dream. I sat up too fast. My body moved easily, no stiffness, no quiet aches. I ran my hands over my face and felt skin that hadn't yet learned disappointment. I laughed. I cried. I whispered my own name like a secret. I had been given what people pray for. Time. The first weeks were intoxicating. Every mistake I remembered became a warning sign. Every regret turned into a checklist item I could finally cross out. I avoided the job that had slowly drained me the first time. I chose a different path, not reckless, but intentional. I spoke more. I smiled more. I said no when I meant no. I told myself I wouldn't repeat the big mistakes. But life doesn't fall apart because of big mistakes. It collapses under the weight of familiar ones. There was a woman, there is always a woman in stories like this, but this isn't a romance. She was simply someone who saw me clearly before I learned how to hide. The first time around, I loved her and still let her walk away because I was afraid of not being enough. This time, when she looked at me with the same quiet uncertainty, I recognized the moment instantly. And instead of stepping forward, I hesitated. Not because I didn't love her, but because I knew how much it would hurt if it failed. Knowing the future didn't make me courageous. It made me cautious. I told myself I was protecting something. My peace. My trajectory. My second chance. I didn't realize I was protecting my fear. Years passed. Different years, same patterns. I made better decisions on the surface. Smarter investments. Healthier routines. Fewer explosions. Fewer apologies. But underneath it all, the same instinct was guiding me. Avoid pain. Delay risk. Choose control. The cruel joke of a second life is that it gives you the illusion of mastery. You think awareness equals growth. But awareness without action is just another form of paralysis. I saw myself drifting again, not crashing, not burning, just slowly, quietly settling into a version of life that felt acceptable. Not alive. Just acceptable. I married someone kind but distant. We respected each other deeply and loved each other safely. We never fought, which should have been my first warning. We also never truly reached each other. I became a parent again. And this time, I promised myself I would be present. I read the books. I showed up. I did everything right. And still, somewhere along the way, my child learned the same lesson I had once learned from my own father. That love doesn't always mean availability. The realization didn't hit me all at once. It came in fragments. A missed conversation. A look held too long. A silence that felt heavier than words. And then one evening, different apartment, different decade, same loneliness, I sat alone again. Older. Successful. Respected. And deeply, unmistakably empty. That was when it broke me. Not because I had failed again, but because I finally understood why. You don't ruin your life in one moment. You do it by repeatedly choosing comfort over truth. I thought a second chance meant changing outcomes. What it actually demanded was changing who I was willing to be. And that was the part one avoided both times. I had thought bravery was loud. Dramatic. Heroic. But bravery is often quiet. It is the phone call you don't want to make. The truth you don't want to admit. The risk of being fully seen without guarantees. In both lives, I waited to feel ready. And in both lives, readiness never came. Now, as I tell you this, I don't know if this story reaches you in the middle of your night or the middle of your life. But I know this much, you don't need a second life to change the first one. You don't need more time. You need fewer excuses. The cost of your decisions is already being charged. Daily. Quietly. With interest. Don't wait for a miracle to force your hand. I was given 2 lifetimes. And the lesson was the same in both. If you keep choosing safety over meaning, one day you'll wake up and realize you've been alive for decades, and present for almost none of it. This is not a warning from someone who failed once. It's a confession from someone who failed twice. And if there is any redemption left in that, let it be this: don't live carefully. Live honestly. Because time, even when it gives you everything back, never gives you courage for free.